to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
Anthony McCART, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm here with the man himself, Mr. Sam Jones. First of all, Sam, how's things, mate? All good?
All good, Andy. Cannot complain about anything, mate. How's you and how's your baby? How's everything?
Likewise, yeah, baby's brilliant, man. She's walking now. She started walking at 10 months, so she's a little athlete. So she's doing...
That's when it becomes a problem, mate. You only start walking. Disaster.
Yeah, tell me about it. She's already in cupboard. We've had to get locks for the cupboard. She's in cupboards, ripping out everything. So she's found out where the biscuit cupboard is and the sweetie cupboard is. So she's doing well.
Mate, I found where the biscuit cupboard is.
You need to stay off the biscuits, Sam.
Mate, 100%, mate. I'm training again, mate. I'm training again. I'm eating good again, mate. I go for a stage, Andy, with me, mate. 8 months fat, the rest in shape.
Listen, summer bodies are built in the winter. So start building the summer body now, then you get fat over the winter.
Exactly.
Sam, it's been a while since I spoke to you, mate. And obviously, December, January is obviously quite quiet months in terms of boxing. But I do want to touch on the fights that we've probably had this year. When you look at the two shows that we've had in Smith and Eubank, and then obviously Yard and Bertabiev, I mean, that is a great way to start the year.
Mate, very solid, mate. Very solid. I love the Liam Smith Eubank was a great... It was a trade fight. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. It was a great trade fight. And listen, it was a packed venue. Fantastic, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Loved it. I mean, I always thought Liam was going to win. I didn't think he would win the way he did win, but I was very confident he was going to win. Looks like we're going to get the rematch there. I'm not really sure the rematch will sell as well as the first fight because it was so conclusive. But either way, it's still a great fight if it happens again. The Bertabiev Yard fight I was ringside for, one of the best fights I've seen in a long, long time. The balls Anthony Yard showed in that fight, mate. I'm a huge fan of Anthony Yard. I was a fan anyway, but I'm a huge fan now because I think that he's a world champion in waiting. And again, big props to Tunde as well. He's took a lot of stick and some of it rightfully so, but you have to give the man props when he deserves it, and he does it. And it's not like, praising a losing. Like no, Tunde did everything right. The game plan was great. And he pulled him out just at the right time before his man could get hurt. That's it. That's a sign of someone who cares about their fighter and a knowledgeable trainer. So shout out to Tunde on that one.
Definitely. And just talk about the two fights itself. And people always talk about, boxing is dead and they're not getting the fights that we want to see. But I think the Liam Smith and the Eubank is a great fight that the fans want to see. And obviously, Yard and Bertabiev, you might think that came out of nowhere, but Yard worked his way up. He got a shot at the 3 world titles and basically put everything on the line. He traded with Bertabiev. You don't see a lot of people try to trade with Bertabiev, but he tried. He tried to trade with him.
Hey, listen, he tried to win, and so he should, mate. He's fighting for the unified world title. He's got to try, but it's how he did it as well. He got him going a few times. Nobody's ran Bertabiev that close. The guy's a monster. And the only thing I want to see with Anthony Yard now is I don't want to see him drop in opposition. Obviously, you can't fight unified champions every fight, but like his next fight should be Joe Smith, Boatsi, Callum Smiths. He's in that company now, Yard, and that's who I want to see him continue to fight at that level because he's top tier, Yard. He's top tier, and he's in the prime years of his life.
Well, that's it. Obviously, the start of 2023 has been good with them two shows. I was lucky enough to beat the Liam Smith, Chris Eubank one, and you were at Yard Bertabiev. But Matchroom have just announced, I believe it was 8 shows all the way up until May, the Katie Taylor fight. Now, the one I want to touch on is obviously Big Anthony Joshua against Jermaine Franklin. I think it's a good fight for Joshua. Sometimes you can take an easier touch. I don't think Jermaine Franklin's an easy touch in terms of who he would have chosen.
It's a mad one because I think Dillian was poor in that fight against Jermaine Franklin. It was by no means Dillian's best performance. That's not to say Dillian's declined or he's finished or whatnot, but he was definitely not the Dillian White of old in that fight because the Dillian White of old would have banged Jermaine Franklin out very early doors. Do you know what I mean? If Anthony Joshua is the Anthony Joshua we knew a few years back. He will flatten Jermaine Franklin in 3 rounds. I'm certain of it.
I seen your tweet. I seen your tweet.
He'll wallop him, and Andy, he'll wallop him. Anthony Joshua is a beast, mate. On his day, he's a fucking beast. And no offense to Jermaine Franklin, because he's a tidy boxer. He's tough. I'm not that disrespecting him like that, but he ain't good enough to lace Anthony Joshua's boots up, Andrew, when Anthony Joshua's on form. If he's on form, and his new trainer, which I expect him to, has got him back. He's restructured him and just gone back to basics. Anthony Joshua will go through him like a hot knife through butter.
Sam, you've obviously worked with Big Joe Joyce a lot, and you know the matchmaking side of things. You look at the fight in the matchmaking after coming 2 back-to-back losses against Usyk. Is this good matchmaking in terms of opponent for Joshua this time of his career?
Yeah, it is. But like, I would have preferred the Dillian White fight, if I'm honest, because I just don't see the reason why. Like, there was a lot of people saying that he lost that fight. I still had Dillian just winning that fight. But if the fight's close, stick him in with Dillian and make a bigger fight. Like, it's not. But I think it's more to do with AJ, because like I said about AJ, it's all psychological. He's never come out and said it, but like his mannerisms would tell me that it's all psychological with AJ. This is the good moves they've made. James is a great coach. Derek James is a great coach. Great that he's moved to America. He should have done this years ago. And the opponent choice is good because I don't think Jermaine Franklin is a puncher at all. I think he's just a good boxer. He's a decent boxer. He's tough. So they'll probably think, oh, it's a good comeback fight for Anthony Joshua after 2 defeats. People can't really complain at it. I'm not. I'm looking forward to see Anthony Joshua back in the ring. He's done great for British boxing. He's literally, when British boxing was not on its arse, Anthony Joshua lifted it back up to the levels it was, and we should all get behind Anthony Joshua. And hopefully he comes back, makes a big statement, and then he has the big fights against Joe Joyce, against Tyson Fury later on in the year. Because we know we're going to get the Dillian White fight afterwards. They'll probably announce it after the Jermaine Franklin fight because they want AJ to fight 3 times. So listen, it's good, man. Like, we can't complain at that fight as a fan. I'm looking forward to it. I'm intrigued. I just think that if Anthony Joshua is even 70% of the old Anthony Joshua, he will beat the shit out of Jermaine Franklin. Sorry to word it, but that's just the way it is.
Listen, you can swear, you can say whatever you want on IFL TV. You know that, Sam. You know that.
I just didn't want to come across like I'm like, because again, tidy boxer Jermaine Franklin. Even though he was against a below par Dillian White, he impressed me in the fight. I thought he's tough, he's this, but he's not good enough to be on the same treadmill as Anthony Joshua, let alone. Anyway, carry on. Yeah,
well, the Dillian White fight, if you're correct in what you're saying, he gets through Franklin, we'll highly likely see the Dillian White fight in the summer. If he gets through Dillian White, we get into the winter time now. If he beats Franklin and White this year, going into the winter, do you think, obviously, Usyk and the winner of Usyk Fury will be a tough one?
This is how it will go, Andy, in my opinion, mate. Sorry to cut you off. This is how it will go. In my uneducated opinion, this is how it will go. Tyson Fury will fight Usyk next, which is what we all deserve. That's the way it should happen. Joe will fight Zhang, which again you want to talk about in a minute. Joe will beat Zhang. Tyson Fury will beat Usyk, and that's not dismissing Usyk, by the way. It's just who I think will win the fight. Tyson Fury will fight Joe Joyce in the summer. I'm virtually certain of this. And then AJ, I think, will fight the winner of that. I do think that. I take that back. That's what should happen. AJ should fight the winner of Joe Joyce, Tyson Fury later this year, probably December time. That would be the ideal scenario for British boxing, by the way.
Exactly, because I'm a selfish boxing fan, Sam, and
so am I.
I want to see Joshua versus Tyson Fury. I want to see that.
We all do, Andy. If anybody says different, even though it's just AJ's been he's been outpointed twice to a boxing genius. Like, who cares? We want to see the build-up. We want to see the 2 top dogs of this heavyweight era, even though Joe Joyce is in that midst, but I'm talking about like revenue-wise and who's brought in the most, like the stadium fillers. We should see Tyson Fury against, but listen, I think Joe Joyce has got is the only man on this earth that can give Tyson Fury a run for his money. But as a selfish boxing fan, I want to see AJ against Tyson Fury at some point. Whoever beats who. I want to see AJ against Wilder, by the way. What a fucking fight that is. AJ against Wilder is as big a fight you can make on the planet. because you know it's only going 4 rounds. Someone's getting knocked unconscious in that fight. It's just a case of who and when. So there's some great fights to be made, and because of all that, I'm rolling off subject here, but it is relevant. Because of all the platforms we have in boxing, BT, Sky, Channel 5, DAZN, we have to see the big fights happen, because boxing fans are made to pay a lot of money to watch, because it is a lot of money to watch all these different fights on different platforms. It's not the UFC where it's all under one roof. This is all separate. We have to see promoters work together and make the biggest fights possible. And we've already seen a hiccup this morning with Ryan Garcia against Tank. I'm not saying, oh, I told you also, but I knew that there'd be something more to it, because we've not seen a poster. We've seen a date. We've seen a date mentioned, but we've not seen anything concrete. Until I see both sides announce the fight, this is the date, this is the venue, bang, 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 I don't believe the fight's going to happen. That's what I mean. But as I say, I hope I'm wrong and hope the fight does happen. Bleeding off subject there, but yes, boxing fans deserve the best, the biggest and best fights, because it is an expensive time. And as I say, cost of living crisis, we all, as I say, especially if you're a hardened boxing fan, it's expensive to be a boxing fan. It really is.
Definitely, I agree. I do want to touch. You mentioned the networks in there, paying all these different networks, and I will touch on that later, Dave. But you did also mention Big Joe Joyce and ZHANG. I mean, I've seen ZHANG fight. I've been ringside for a few of his fights, and I've been ringside for Joe Joyce. Now they're two juggernauts in their own right. I mean, ZHANG can take a whack, and he can whack. I mean, might not have a chin like Joyce, but he does. He can take a whack.
Andy, let me tell you something now, right? Yeah, and people say, oh, yeah, it's Joe's mate, always mention it. Let me tell you something now. I like ZHANG. I'm a big fan of ZHANG, by the way. I love watching him fight. I thought he was brilliant against Sergeyevich. If you can build a man to fight Joe Joyce, yeah, of what Joe would like to fight against, you'd open up that page and see a big picture of ZHANG's face. I'm telling you, Joe Joyce will beat the shit out of ZHANG. It will be fun. I'm sure ZHANG will get some shots off on Joe, but a big upright, always a southpaw, makes no difference. Joe's great against southpaws. Joe's good against southpaws. But a big, and it's not as if ZHANG's an awkward southpaw. You know what I mean? There's nothing awkward about ZHANG. ZHANG's big, he's strong, he comes forward, and he's easy to hit. That is Joe Joyce's flipping feet up on a beach with a cigar. That is for Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce will punch the shit out of ZHANG in that fight. I promise. It'll be a car crash of a fight. Unbelievable fight to make. Great matchmaking. Great fight to make from Queensbury. Good management from Joyce. ZHANG kind of has to take that fight. So I understand that his managers have to do that fight, because the guy's 40 years old and this is a great opportunity for him. And listen, heavyweight boxing, anything can happen. But for Joe Joyce, I promise, you couldn't build a more perfect guy for him to fight. You'd probably change it to an author, but height, the tempo of a fight,
I think Sam, what I was alluding to is probably it's a fun fight in terms of.
It's a great Andy,
it's a fun
go
fight
to that fight. Even if you're not going there with your camera, go to that fight and enjoy it, because I promise it'll be an absolute terror. But Joe will stop him. Joe will 100% stop him. Joe will love this fight. Joe, in the back of his head, Joe won't watch much of him, but when he does, he'll be like, let's get it. It's perfect for him, honestly. You couldn't get a more perfect guy for him to fight, I promise.
All right, well, Sam, that's your thoughts on that fight then. Yeah, you touched on the different networks, BT, Sky, DAZN, Channel 5, and whatnot. Now, obviously, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and DAZN, they announced the 8 shows that I said, starting off with Wood Lara and then ending with Taylor Serrano, the rematch out in Dublin in May 20th, I believe it is. Now, obviously, big 8 shows, you've got the Joshua fighting amongst there, you've got Rakimev and Cordina, you've got the next gen show in Newcastle, you've got Callum Smith as well. So, there's been a price increase with DAZN.
Listen, I saw the price increase, and I get the outrage from it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, but because boxing fans have seen £20 a month, but if you work it out right and you do the 12-month plan, I think it's more because this isn't David Lloyd Gym where you get fixed into a year's contract with the gym where you have to pay for the whole year. Boxing fans like the flexibility of, if I want to cancel, I can cancel. Do you know what I mean? On my £10 a month, my £7 a month. What we do know is about when it started, the £1.99 or whatever it was, and then it moved up to £7. It's not sustainable for the fights that they're trying to make. It's not sustainable, which is the reason why they made Ben Eubank pay-per-view, because realistically, it is a pay-per-view fight, Ben and Eubank. Joshua is pay-per-view. I know it's not been pay-per-view for the Franklin fight, but it kind of is, because they've done it kind of smart. But boxing fans probably feel a bit blindsided from it. But however, if the content, listen, the Liverpool card, it's not their strongest card. Let's be perfectly honest about it. It's not their strongest fight. Callum Smith should be fighting better opposition than that. Callum Smith's an elite level fighter. So I would have liked to see Callum Smith fight Buatsi and headline that kind of shit. Wood Lara is a fucking banger. No one can complain about that. Anthony Joshua's fighting Franklin. Serrano Taylor, I'd have preferred to see Chantel Cameron get that gig against Katie Taylor, which hopefully she does later this year. But still, it's a wonderful fight, because look at their first fight. If the content stays the same, then a tenner a month, because when people say it's £20 a month, it is if you carry on with what you're originally paying. Like what me, I have to change the plan. I'll probably pay the £100 up front and you get it for the year, because it works out as cheaper. Do you understand what I mean? But I understand not a lot of people have £100 just to blast on boxing for the year. So I understand, but when you work it out, it's not that bad. But if you're Len Blavatnik, whatever his name is, you're looking at the DAZN thing. It's not a sustainable product unless you do increase it a little bit. But what they need, what I would think they're going to do, and which I think they've started to do, I think they've got AEW now, the wrestling. They need more content, because if you look at BT Sport, £35 a month, which is, I subscribe to all of it because I'm a football fan, I'm a boxing fan, and I'm a wrestling fan. So I have to subscribe to all this kind of stuff. But boxing fans just want value for money. Do you understand what I mean? There's been no real content on DAZN for the first couple of months and that, and it's starting in, it's kind of like you paid that and then the money goes up now when the content starts. A bit, like what I say, I understand the outrage from it, but if you work it out and do one of the price plans, it's not as bad as what it first may appear. Do you understand what I'm saying? And boxing fans just probably feel a bit blindsided from it. As long as the content remains the same and they increase the content, they bring in wrestling, or I don't know, the basketball, I don't know, whatever, but they need more content on that channel to keep pushing the price up. Because listen, cost of living, inflation, everything's going to go up, mate. Everything's going to go up, and that's just unfortunately the world, the world we're living in at the moment, Andrew. But yeah, the Newcastle show, it's a next-gen show, so listen, you can't really complain about it. The Liverpool show, I thought it could have been better, but then you've got Joe Cordina against Rakimov, great fight. Do you know what I mean? Brilliant fight. Wood Lara, great fight. Jermaine Franklin, Anthony Joshua. It's Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua could fight me or you, Andy, and it's pay-per-view, isn't it? Because it's just Anthony Joshua. Yeah. It is. It's Anthony Joshua. So
you've got the American show, Bam Rodriguez as well in there, and you've got, what's the other American show they announced? There's another one, Bam Rodriguez, and another one I can't remember.
Bam Rodriguez. I would have liked to see that fight, Bam Rodriguez against Sonny Edwards. That's what should have been next, in my opinion, on that. Martin, listen, there's some great fights. As long as the schedule stays like that, where you're making cracking fights, Wood Lara's, AJ fights 3 times this year, Buatsi against maybe a Bivol. These type of fights, it's not as bad as what people are probably going to make it out to be. It's just the fact that it's a bit of blindsiding when they've said, okay, January, February, you pay $7.90 a month, and then from now, £20 a month, unless you do one of these price plans. It's a bit, they could have done it a bit better, the zone. Like, they could have done it a bit more gentle, if that makes sense, towards the boxing fan. But like what I say, Andy, it's not sustainable. Even though Len Blavatnik's a billionaire, he's got money flying out of his arse, he don't want to lose money. He's a billionaire. He's a billionaire for a reason. Billionaires don't like losing money, Andy. So it's like, he's looked at the model and thought, hold on a minute, I'm making hundreds of millions of pound loss here. We need to start clawing some of this back. So up the prices. Do you know what I mean? And that's just unfortunately the situation we're in at the moment as boxing fans. But I just hope promoters all work together and make the biggest, best fights. That's what I hope for this year.
Well, that's it. I mean, I've heard Ben Shalom talk about it and saying that he wants to work alongside other promoters, and we've seen it with Kala and Ben in terms of the Chris Eubank and Liam Smith fight at the beginning of the year there.
But they should be working together for things like Natasha Jonas against Terry Harper. There's a fight right there that should be made next, in my opinion. I love Natasha Jonas, my friend. She's my friend, but like, I don't really want to see her to fight Clarissa Shields, if I'm perfectly honest. I want to see her fight for the undisputed. I mean, imagine that, like fighting for the undisputed title against someone who arguably you won against. It could have gone either way. That's a perfect prime example of boxer and matchroom should be working together to make that fight happen. Like, take all egos aside out of it, trainers' egos, fighters' ego. That fight should be next. Bottom line, it's the undisputed. Look at all the undisputed champions in women's boxing. That fight should happen next. There's no excuses for it not to happen. That's just my my opinion, mate. And I just think, like, you look at Yard Bawaxi. My God, that's a banger. That's got to happen. Battle of London. Let's see that fight happen. If these fights happen, fans aren't too bothered about parting with a few quid every month to watch boxing. Do you know what I mean? It's when you get fed shit. That's when boxing fans are like, what are we paying for? This is just a smoke screen for shit fights. Let's see the biggest, best fights happen. The only way you can do that is if you mix and match it.
Yeah, definitely. And we might get a Canelo announcement on that DAZN as well, and to up the
against John Ryder. And John Ryder deserves that fight. Listen, people will moan about that fight, but in Matchroom's defense, John Ryder deserves that fight. He deserves it. What can anybody more ask of John Ryder than to get that fight? Sets himself up for life. If he wins, oh my God, he's really at the jackpot. But even if he loses, right, which is what most will expect him to do, he set his future, his family and future up forever, and he'll probably retire. Not putting words in his mouth, but John Ryder's had a great career. Tony Sims has done a brilliant job with him, and I'm really glad he's going to get the opportunity against Canelo, because sometimes in boxing you have to get what you deserve, and he deserves that opportunity. Definitely.
Well, Sam, I touched on it at the beginning of the interview here, and I said that it's been a great start to the year in terms of the two fights we've had with Smith Eubank and Berto Biaviard. We've talked about, obviously, boxer, they're doing well in terms of making good fights and good shows. You've got Matchroom's announcement, Frank Warren as well. So are you hopeful that 2023 will be a year that we do see the big fights?
Mate, well, listen, after the boxing had a bit of a shit year last year, let's be perfectly honest about it. Yes, the boxing needs a big year, mate. Boxing itself, the sport needs a good year. So, and like I say, I know I keep going over what I'm saying 2 and 3 times, but it's so important. Promoters work together. They have to part with egos and make the biggest and best fights. Let's see a BT guy, like a Hamza Shiraz fight a Matchroom guy. Let's see a boxer fight a Matchroom guy. Let's make these great fights. That's how you're gonna make this sport get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm. I know, but it's easier than said than done. Me and you sitting here over Zoom talking about it, but
Andy, I've done it, mate. Listen, I've been involved in boxing negotiations for years, mate. Egos are a real thing in boxing. They really are a real thing. But if there's a desire from both sides to make a fight happen, it happens. Do you understand what I mean? It happens. If Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather can fight when they're both 40 years old, any fight can happen. Do you know what I mean? Kell Brook, Amir Khan. The reason why that fight never happened is because Amir Khan probably didn't want it at that period of time, because he was doing his thing in America. Amir Khan's decided, you know what, I want this fight. The fight happens. Mayweather decides, I want this fight. The fight happens. When there's a desire from both sides to make a fight happen, the fight happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sam, I think we've touched on everything, have we?
We need a gloves are off, Andy. We need a gloves are off with Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, Ben Shalom. get him in there as well. And I'll referee it.
Well, if you ask the right questions, Sam, let's do it.
Mate, but listen to me, that's what should happen. Because then you're going to get an Al Heyman. He can appear out of nowhere and he can send, or Leonard Ellaby can be sent for him. And we can get answers. Do you know what I mean? Why is this fight? Oscar De La Hoya, throw him in there as well. Like, why is this fight not happening? What? I'm being serious when I say this, Andy. There should be an open discussion as to why you're not letting this guy fight here. Like, why you're not... Give the boxing fans something to understand as to why the biggest and best fights can't happen, or they will happen this year.
We'll start off with the UK promoters before we bring in the Americans, because it might be a little.
Yeah. We're probably gonna have to do that. But can you imagine a round table? Frank Warren, Ben Shalom, Kalle Sauerland, and Eddie Hearn.
That's lovely. Listen, if you're in there as well, because you can talk, you've got a gift of the gab, I know.
I'll be there. Listen, Andy, right? Whether it's now, whether it's a year, I will be there one day, mate, because I back myself. I don't care what anybody says about me, mate. I'm a fucking very good promoter, and I will be there one day, my son.
Sam, I believe you, brother.
Big fat Sam will be there one day, mate. Trust me.
Listen, Sam, next time we're at a fight week, man, you'll be in the gym with me.
I'm getting there again. Listen, mate, I'm getting there again, mate. I'm training again. I'm running again. I'm eating well again. Listen, if I'm fat, it's because I want to be fat, my friend. That's the bottom line of it. But anyway, so yeah, all your fat hamster comments, leave them in the comments. Like and subscribe to IFL TV.
Whether you're boxing, was it ball? Was it your podcast? Plug your podcast as well.
Ball and Brawl, mate. The first episode will be at the end of this month with hopefully a very special guest as well. So yeah, like and subscribe to that. Leave your hamster comments in the bottom, and we'll see you all very soon. Andy, me and you will do a physical interview very fucking soon. My shaven head friend. Let's go.
And great beard friend as well. Look at all that, Sam.
You're all right, Andy. You're all right, mate. You've got the perfect shaped head for a bald head. See me, I can never be bald because I've got a 50p piece head. So I can't really go there. And a very round face. When I put weight on, it goes directly to my cheeks. So there's no hiding place for fatness. Do you understand what I mean?
Well, Sam, I'm clipping that and putting it on my Instagram. Listen, Sam, as always, mate, I'll speak to you very, very soon. Hopefully we do get a face-to-face interview soon. But thanks again,
We
brother.
will, Andy. We will, my brother. Take care, my friend. Take care.
Yes, Sam. Thanks, mate. Enjoy your day.
Bye, mate.
I'm going to share something with you that might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something. Completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.